One thing that annoys the hell out of me are people who just talk too much, who just ramble on and on and on. And it's like they have endless words, but they're not really saying anything. And it's like you don't want to be rude and cut them off and interrupt them and say, hey, get to the point. Or like, what is it that you're trying to communicate? But they'll just like just keep going and going and going. And for me, I'm like, you know how I am with my time, and I'm just sitting there like, all right, are we getting somewhere here? Are we like, what is it that you're trying to say? Or you ask them a question, and they go on and on and on with a bunch of explanations and context and going around. It's like ring around the rosy, and then at the end, like they're done and they're looking at you, and you're like, well, did you answer? It was a numerical response I'm looking for, and you gave me a bunch of words explanation, but there's no answer. Like something that could have been answered with a yes or no or a two or three or four, but it's like just a bunch of talking, talking, talking. I think, and for me, it always seems to be like if you cannot be concise in your answer, then it's probably because you don't have an answer. So that's my thoughts. That's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about word bloat. That's what I just made it on the spot, like word bloat. Like you're bloated with words, but there's no substance there. So that's what I'm thinking about. But before we get into the show, do me a big favor. If you haven't done so already, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button so you can know every time we go live and drop new content, as well as go over to techcoachdrop.dev. Sign up today. You can sign up for free, get access to our sprint reviews. I did a video last week about breaking down what sprint reviews are. Get access to, as well, you get access to different exclusive content that I do, where I'm like, how do you search for jobs? How do you perform in interviews? How do you structure your resume? And you can sign up for one-on-one coaching. That is techcoachdrop.dev. But let's get into the topic of word bloat. Welcome to another episode of Candid Conversations, hosted by yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph, where we're engineer twin. So today I want to talk to you about something I just made up, the term word bloat. But it's pretty much when you have so many words but absolutely no content or no substance to it. It's just like you just want to talk, trying to make it seem like you know what you're talking about when you really don't. So one of my pet peeves is people who just, it's like they feel that they have to say something, right? And it's like, so you ask them a question and then they're just like trying to fill time, and they're talking, and then they get to the end, like you're trying not to cut them off, but they get to the end and there's absolutely no substance that has been made, and you're like, why did I just sit here and listen to you talk for all that time, right? One thing I think that is very, I'm going to put it like this, right? I believe that the more you know, the less words it takes for you to communicate it. Something that I have this problem with so many people in my own personal life, right? I'll ask a question expecting, and which I don't mind getting context, right? But I ask a question. It might be a yes or no question, or it could be like if I ask like, "Well, what year did this happen?" or whatever the case may be, and then I get so much explanation before I get the answer, if I get the answer at all, and that absolutely drives me crazy because I guess maybe the way that my brain works, I would rather you I need to know the answer first, and then I can process the information that you're giving about why you answer that way. But I just need, if there's a question asked, or if you're trying to make a point, make your point and then give the following, the supporting details. I mean, maybe I was spoiled when I went to middle school and high school on how to write essays, where it's you lay out your thesis or your hypothesis, or whatever type of paper that you're writing, and then you list out three supporting points on why that is your position. But when people start to ramble and ramble, and they're going all around in circles, it's like we're at the playground, and there is no actual substance to it. It drives me absolutely insane. And when I'm coaching people, and when they're not sure about what they're talking about, they have more words. And I'm like, all right, stop, stop, stop. You're rambling. You're not saying anything. Let's take a step back. A lot of times people need to up their information level so they can decrease the amount of words that they spit out. Like I said, I believe that the more you know, the more concise you can be with your words. The easier it is for you to break something down. So, and you'll see me here, like I can, because I take the time to try to understand what I'm portraying, what I'm sharing with you, and things of that nature. I try to get like I try to give examples that will get you straight to the point. I try to use as least words as possible and as easy as words as possible. I've noticed that people who are not sure about what they're talking about, they try to use bigger words. They try to use more complicated words because it makes them seem like because what happens is the a common mistake that most people make, right? They attribute intelligence to when people use big words instead of saying, "What the hell does that mean?" See me, I'm the type of person. If I don't know what the hell you're talking about, I'm gonna act like, and I'm gonna say, like, "What do you mean by that?" I remember a book that I read a long time ago, like which was like how to extract information out of people. They'll say, all right, so you ask them a question and they give you an answer, and they might give you some, like, who knows what type of answer, right? And you ask the question, okay, what do you mean by that? And then how did you get to that conclusion? Basic terms to extract what people are saying. But a lot of times people feel that, oh my God, they're at this position and they're using these big words and stuff like that, and you're like, oh my, I don't want to question that. People 99% of the time, people don't know what the hell they're talking about. That's how I feel about it. I think the more familiar that you are with something, with a topic or a subject, the easier it is for you to break it down in everyday terms. That's why, like, when I'm doing the Saturday morning show, the weekly economic numbers show, because that is not a strong point of mine. When I'm trying to figure, like, when I'm trying to understand what these words, I'm like, hey, can you give it to me on a sixth grade definition? Can you break it down in something like in an urban explanation that I can better understand? Because I don't I want to actually learn. I don't want to just throw out like throw out nonsense to people. I don't want to throw out nonsense to myself. And I think it's important on two sides, right? On the person who's receiving the information, if somebody is rambling and they're just like trying to make it seem like they know more than they really do, ask them, like, hey, like, say, hey, I'm not smart enough to understand what the hell you're talking about. Can you make it easier? How did you come to this conclusion? Can you elaborate more on what you're talking about? Can you make it easier for me to understand? And here's the problem: if they can't make it easier to understand, then they probably don't know what they're talking about. For me, like, you've seen me here, right? When people start, like, when people start talking in, you know 3 4 syllable words, I'm like, all right, I'm getting a little lost here. If I need to pull out a dictionary to understand what you're trying to say, I'm like, can we make it a little bit easier? But the problem is, a lot of times they can't. So now, when you take it to one thing, I always see this, right, on resumes where people are not confident in their skill set, they're going to add a lot of word bloat to their resumes, and they're gonna put this, throw this big word in here and that big word in here. Or when people say, oh, I'm a detailed oriented, quality minded, blah 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 blah, and it's like a whole bunch of adjectives about themselves and not enough substance or content about what they actually do. So for me, like, you guys know, I created I created the time cost calculator app. I think time is very important, and that's one thing that I hate when people, they are taking up my time with useless words. And I think you should hate it too, because I believe that your time is way more valuable than you give yourself credit for. So I always appreciate when people will when people know what they're talking about, and I can snuff it out quickly. When people don't know what they're talking about, I'm like, all right, let me ask you a couple of questions, and then they get stuck and like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, okay, just, if you don't know, just say you don't know, and let's figure it out. I'm gonna leave you with key, this key: talk less, listen more, study even more. Talk less, study more. Talk less, listen more. What one thing that I've noticed, right? Some of the most intelligent people, they do not speak that much. They will sit back and listen to a bunch of different perspectives and point of views. And once they actually feel that they have something to contribute, then they're going to open their mouth. But on the other side, people who are a lot less knowledgeable about the field or the realm that they're talking about, a lot of times they have the most to say. One of the things that people would say about me growing up, like when I was younger, is that, oh, I'm not very social. Like I'll be at some event and I'm not really interacting with a bunch of people. I'm listening because I don't like the things. A lot of times the things that people are talking about, either I don't care about them or I don't know about them. All right. So if I don't know about it, I'm not just gonna jump into a conversation that I have absolutely no idea about. I'll listen, and if I have a question, I'll ask the question. But I'm not going to act like I know something that I don't know. And then if I don't care about it, then I have nothing to contribute. I'll be having some conversations like, and they'll send me something. Oh, like look at this. I'm like, I honestly don't care. Like this doesn't mean anything to me. So I would encourage you and I would implore you to listen more, increase your knowledge base. Do not ramble. Do not try to use big words to make you sound like you know what you're talking about when you really don't. I think one of the most important things we can do is be very, very concise with our words. Stop trying to throw word bloat at people so that they can see you in some type of light because you will be found out. And the people who actually know, like it's funny because let's say I'm in software testing, right? And if I'm talking to someone who wants to be in software testing but they don't have any real experience, they're going to be talking about like the ISTQB test said this because maybe they passed the ISTQB and they'll be like, oh, and this theory and that theory and Pythagoras theory and all this type of stuff. I'm like, okay, but how do you do this? Well, then you're gonna go and this, you're gonna go to the right, and you're gonna put your left foot in and your right foot out, and you do the hokey pokey and stuff like that. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, crossed out. But now, the people that I've been working with for months now, I'm like, how do you do this? And they're like, boom, 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 boom. I go to Docker, I go to GitHub, I merge this branch, boom. It's like straight answers. It's there's no theory, like there's no theory that's being compiled into a bunch of word salad, into a bunch of word bloat, you know. So that's what I want to leave you with for this week, right? Be concise in your words. Be in tune to listening more to what is being said, so that when you do open your mouth to say something, it's going to be adding value. And it's not just going to be like, it's like, oh God, here we got to wait 5 minutes to get a 2 minute or to get a 2 second non answer. If it's a yes or no question, start off with yes or no, and then offer some context, but to the point. That would be my advice, my recommendation. Let me know what you think. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Was this word bloat? God forbid it wasn't. But let me know your thoughts though. Do do you do you practice, because you might not be too familiar with what you're talking about, using a bunch of useless words to make it sound more interesting, that you're more knowledgeable? Or have you been the victim of listening to people go on 5 minute rants for a 10 second answer? Do you think it's okay? Do you think it's not okay? I'm curious to know your thoughts. Please share that with me. drop me a comment, and I would be happy to get back to you. All right, but that's it for this week. I'm gonna wrap it up with another episode of Candid Conversations. Do me a big favor if you haven't done already. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know every time we go live and drop new content, as well as go to techcoachrav.dev. Sign up today. You can get access to our latest sprint reviews. I'm going to be uploading a video on how to use Glassdoor to do job research about the jobs, the interviews, the salaries. So when you get that interview, and you can properly start using that information to your best negotiating tactics, you can sign up for one-on-one coaching and tons of stuff that's happening over there. We go live to do working sessions, to do learning about Playwright, learning about Microsoft Azure, so many different things. So join us today. It's techcoachrav.dev. And we can go from there. But that's it for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Candid Conversations. We're going to run it up. There are no days off. Like I said earlier, keep your words concise, get to the point, be knowledgeable what you're talking about. All right, but with that being said, this is Tech Coach Ralph with another episode. We are out.